Okay, it is 7 o'clock, so we'll go ahead and get started. Let's call the Johnson City Council meeting number 25-04 to order. Cindy, roll call, please.
Councilmember Coe?
Here.
Evans?
Here.
Martin?
Here.
Reddy?
Here.
Burkhart?
Here.
I want to welcome everyone that is in the audience this evening. If you are here for an item that is on the agenda, we would ask for you to wait for that item to come up and address the council at that time. If you are here for an item that is not on the agenda, there will be an opportunity under public communications, which will be coming up here shortly. The next item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. And what we like to do is we like to invite the young people that are in the audience to come up and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. And the young people are looking around like there's maybe somebody younger than them, but I don't think so. Could you please come forward and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Sure.
I pledge allegiance to the
flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That's the best pledge we've had yet this year. The next item on the agenda is the agenda approval. Mike, do we have any changes to the agenda?
No changes this evening, Mayor.
Council, any changes? Seeing none, do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion? Cindy, vote please.
Councilmember Evans?
Yes.
Martin?
Yes.
Reddy?
Here.
Burkhart?
Yes.
Coe?
Here.
Motion passed. Moving on to public communications. We have two scheduled public communications this evening. The first is the oath of office for Johnson Police Officer Stephanie Braun.
Carson, I did warn your mom about that. I don't know if she warned you at all, but I gave her, okay. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm going to rewind a few months here for you just to kind of refresh your memory. We've done a fantastic job of recruiting talent into this organization, and we've faced some unique challenges in the last couple of years with just the complexity of our criminal investigations and the rigor it takes and just the ability and time it takes to grow as a police officer. And so when we faced the challenge of needing to add additional staff in our investigations unit, I asked you to trust me and to let me go outside and try to find some talent. And I'm here to tell you we found it. So tonight I want to introduce you to Detective Stephanie Braun. I'm going to brag on her a little while here because she's earned it. So her career in law enforcement spans approximately 25 years, during which time she's served in a variety of roles, including patrol officer, field training officer, school resource officer, detective, sergeant, and captain. Throughout her career, colleagues have consistently looked at her as both a mentor and a leader. She's remained committed to continuously strengthening her professional skill set and fostering growth and lifelong learning within her scope of duties. Stephanie's passion for law enforcement has consistently drawn her to complex criminal investigations. Her investigative experiences and specialized skills focus in the areas of sexual abuse, child abuse, assault, domestic abuse, harassment, sexual exploitation of minors, and juvenile crime investigations. She approaches each of her cases with victim-centered mindset, serving as an advocate throughout the investigative process while building confidence and empowerment in those she serves. Her demonstrated ability to manage multiple criminal investigative cases simultaneously, combined with her diligence, attention to detail, and strong collaboration with fellow detectives and partnering agencies, aligns closely with our needs and values within this organization. Stephanie's dedication to community well-being is also unwavering. She's highly respected in the Central Iowa law enforcement community and works to strengthen relationships between law enforcement and community partners. Building trust and promoting transparency through open communication have been foundational principles throughout Detective Braun's career. With that, Madam Mayor, I'd introduce you to Stephanie to step forward for the oath, please.
Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Stephanie Braun,
I, Stephanie Braun,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support
that I will support
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Iowa,
and the Constitution of the State of Iowa,
and that I will faithfully
and I will faithfully
and impartially,
and impartially,
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
discharge all the duties
discharge all the duties
of the office of police officer
of the office of police officer
in Johnston, Iowa,
in Johnston, Iowa,
as now or hereafter
as now and hereafter
required by law.
required by law.
Congratulations. Oh, yeah, let's sign. Goodness gracious. I was wondering why you were looking at me like, look at you move. Now we've made it legal. Yep.
If you, you could probably come over here too.
Thank you.
You bet, thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Did I miss something?
No, I was just gonna invite him if he wanted to take it on center on. He didn't have to take it from the angle, but it's all fine.
Well, before you run away, I just want to say welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome to the best police department anywhere. In the state of Iowa, in this country, or anywhere in the world. So, you know, the police chief is bragging on the United States, second to brag on our police department, and our chief. You know, we have full faith and confidence in our police chief and his ability to run his department, to identify and bring on board talented people like you. And we just, you know, we thank every day the wonderful police officers that we have in this community. We always get high ranks from our citizens for the police and the fire protection that they get in this community. And we wouldn't get those high ranks if it wasn't. So I want to thank the chief, I want to thank the other police officers that are here, and I want to thank you for joining our police department. With you coming on board and with all the great folks that we have, you know, I can stand and very proudly say we've got the best police department anywhere. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, for some more fun on the agenda, we have a proclamation for Kosovo's 18th Independence Day. Why don't I go ahead and read the proclamation first, and then and I'll invite Dreelon and Fatmir up. As I read it, would you come forward? And before I read the proclamation, I just want to remind everyone why Kosovo is so important to us. Kosovo just did declare their independence 18 years ago, which is, you know, if you think about that, we are going to be celebrating our 250th anniversary of our independence. And this is a country that is only 18 years old. So it's still, you know, I just still am in awe that that can actually be the case. But just 5 years after they declared their independence, the city of Johnston entered into a sister city relationship with Peja, Kosovo. And we have had that relationship now for 13 years, which I think is absolutely amazing. And I'm kind of in awe about that as well. The fact that you are a country that was only 5 years old when we entered into that relationship. And, 13 years later, here we are. And what a wonderful relationship it has been. Again, I am just so proud of Kosovo and the people in Kosovo for what you've been able to accomplish over those 18 years. I made my first trip to Kosovo back in 2013, and that was only, that was when you were still in your infancy and you still had a lot of reconstruction to do after the war. This last trip back to Kosovo just this past summer, I was just amazed. I was amazed by, what I saw there, what you've done to redevelop your country and really establish yourself as a very strong democracy in Europe and in this world. So I hope we are partners forever. I think we should be, I hope that the relationship that Johnston has with the city of Peja lasts long beyond the time that you're serving in your roles and I'm serving in my role, because it's been just a very rich and rewarding experience. So with that, I'm going to read the proclamation. I'm going to have to get my glasses to do it. And I think we've done a proclamation every year, or almost every year, since we entered into that relationship with Peja. So this is probably about the 13th proclamation that we have issued recognizing the independence of Kosovo. So this is a proclamation recognizing the 18th anniversary of Kosovo's Declaration of Independence. Whereas the people of Kosovo declared their independence on February 17, 2008, and in so doing proclaimed the state of Kosovo to be a democratic, secular, and multi-ethnic republic. And whereas the following day, on February 18, 2008, the United States recognized Kosovo's independence, marking a historic moment that reaffirmed the enduring bond of friendship and shared values between the Republic of Kosovo and the United States. And whereas, in the 18 years since, over 100 countries now recognize Kosovo as a free and independent state. And whereas, the newborn monument unveiled on Kosovo's Independence Day stands as a lasting symbol of that special day, when a new democratic nation was born. The monument is repainted every year and revealed on Kosovo's Independence Day. Painted on the monument this year are the following words, whose first letters form the word newborn: nationhood, endurance, work, bravery, obligation, resilience/recovery, and new beginnings. The monument's artist, Fiznek Asmali, dedicated the new artwork to Kosovo and its journey towards freedom and state building through the liberation and shared values with the United States of America as a key ally in supporting Kosovo's freedom. Kosovo 18, USA 250. And whereas Kosovo remains Europe's newest democracy, and whereas, like Americans who reflect every 4th of July on the historical events leading up to their own Independence Day, on February 17, the people of Kosovo pay tribute to those who died for their freedoms and to those still living who made great sacrifices to gain their independence. And whereas Kosovars appreciate, as Americans do, that for democracy to endure, it must be constantly nurtured and preserved. In the words of America's 40th President, Ronald Reagan, freedom is never more than a generation away from extinction. It must be fought for and protected, or one day we will all tell our children what it was once like to be free. Now therefore be it proclaimed that I, Paula S. Dierenfeld, on behalf of the Johnston City Council and the entire Johnston community, congratulate the citizens of Kosovo on the 18th anniversary of Kosovo's Declaration of Independence and wish them prosperity, health, and peace in the years ahead. And I've signed and dated it today, so congratulations. And I just want to make sure that we introduce the gentlemen that are up here. And I will tell you what their first names are, and I'll let them pronounce their last names. So this is Drilan. He is the Consulate General, Chief of Mission here in Iowa. There is a consulate's office in downtown Des Moines, and it has existed there for 10 years? 10 years, 10 years. And Fatmir, you're very trusty First Assistant Consul General, always there and very helpful and supportive of you and everything that we do here on behalf of Kosovo. So let me, there's one other thing that I wanted to mention. Oh yes, one other thing that I wanted to mention is earlier today, in recognition of Kosovo's Independence Day, we raised a flag at our library, the Kosovo flag at our library. And it will be flying there through the rest of this week. I would encourage you all to go out and see it. It looks pretty stunning. And in fact, I was chatting with the chief as I was walking in, and I don't mean to necessarily call you out, Chief, but we need to find a permanent location to put the Kosovo flag. So we'll be working on that. So anyway. Let me just turn the microphone over to the two of you, and you can say whatever you would like to say.
Thank you so much for this great honor. Actually, I have written a very short speech, if I may read it for you. And okay. So, dear Mayor Dierenfeld, dear members of the council, great honor to be here, and as a great friend of Kosovo. Oh yes, it's a great privilege to be here today, and we are deeply grateful for this special honor. Earlier today, we held a flag-raising ceremony at the Johnston Public Library, for which we are deeply thankful to the mayor. This proclamation, dedicated to the 18th anniversary of the independence of Republic of Kosovo, not only recognizes Kosovo's remarkable journey, but also celebrates the strong friendship and partnership between the city of Johnston and city of Peja in Kosovo, second biggest city in Kosovo. On behalf of the Consulate of the Republic of Kosovo, I would like to express our sincere gratitude to Mayor Dierenfeld for her leadership and for standing with us throughout these years. May this celebration further strengthen the bonds of friendship between our cities and inspire continued cooperation in the years ahead. Thank you so much for this honor.
Again, congratulations. And I was out on my computer online a little bit before I came over this evening, and I saw that leaders from across the world were extending their congratulations to your president and to your prime minister today for the same reason, for it being the 18th anniversary. So yeah, oh yeah, I forgot about that. There was another event today that was related to the 18th anniversary, and that was at the governor's office earlier today. The governor issued a proclamation recognizing the 18th anniversary as well, and it was very well attended. It was very nicely done, and again, just a wonderful recognition of everything that you and all of the Kosovars have done over the years to make Kosovo just a wonderful, wonderful country. So, congratulations. You bet. You bet.
Want to do the council, Mayor?
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, we are still under public communications. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to address the council on an item that is not on the agenda? Cindy, anyone online? Okay. We'll move on then to public hearings. We have one public hearing this evening, and that is to conduct a public hearing on the matter of adoption of plans, specifications, form of contract, and estimate of cost for the Foxborough Trail project, and consider resolution number 26-26, adopting plans, specifications, form of contract, and estimate of cost, consider the construction bids, and consider resolution number 26-27, making award of construction contract, and consider resolution number 26-28, approving the construction contract and bond. And we'll open this public hearing at 7:22. Jeff?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Last Friday, we opened up bids and had 12 bidders bid on the Foxborough Trail Replacement Project, which is the trail from Lou Clarkson and a little bit inside Lou Clarkson out to Foxborough and over to the Beaver Creek Bridge. Engineer's estimate on the project was $609,000. The low bidder was actually $338,367.75. So well under the budget, and the second lowest bid was only $275 away from that. So bids are coming down. Every bid was below the engineer's estimate. So good news. So based on that, and MPS Engineering is the firm. They've done some work for the city of Johnston in the past and has done good work. So we would recommend, and Steiner Associates would recommend awarding the contract to them.
Does council have any questions for Jeff?
I have a quick question, Jeff. So you said they already worked for the city before.
They've done some work for Public Works, doing some concrete work, yes.
And how long was that ago?
I know at Lou Clarkson, they did the area around the softball complex and the shade structures. I'm not for sure.
Yeah, they did phase 3 at Lou Clarkson, what Jeff just talked about. They also have done a couple of projects on our east of Merle Hay where they've come in and done the complete reconstruction of streets, put in sewer, storm sewer, water main too.
All right, so they're good builders then. They're good builders.
Yeah.
Okay. That's all right, thanks.
Other council questions? If not, this is a public hearing. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to address the council on this item? Seeing none, we will close the public hearing at 7:24. Do we have a motion to approve resolution number 26-26?
Move approval.
Second,
A motion and a second discussion. Cindy, vote please.
Councilmember Martin.
Yes.
Ready.
yes,
Burkhart.
Yes.
Cope.
Yes.
Evans.
Motion passed. Do we have a motion to approve resolution number 26-27?
I move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second discussion. Cindy, vote please.
Councilmember Ready.
Yes,
Burkhart.
Yes.
Cope.
Yes.
Evans.
Yes.
Martin.
Yes.
Motion passed. And do we have a motion to approve resolution number 26-28?
I move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second discussion. Cindy, vote please.
Councilmember Burkhart.
Yes.
Cope.
Yes.
Evans.
Yes.
Martin.
Yes.
Ready.
Yep,
Motion passed. Moving on to the consent agenda. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second discussion.
Mayor, just one thing I wanted to note, item O, is the agreement with Snyder to hire them to do traffic work. And I'm excited about this. Mark Parrington has always done really, really good work for the city on some different projects. And I think it's a really good hire. I think Mark is a Johnson resident. He's got a lot of experience in the community. So just really appreciate the fact that we've got somebody who can work with us on something that often plays an important role. And a lot of development decisions we make, traffic is an important factor to take into account. So just really pleased that we're able to bring him in and help us on some of those important things. So just wanted to note that.
Did we have a motion in a second? Okay, this was discussion. Okay, great. Any other good discussion, council? If not, Cindy, vote please.
Councilmember Coe?
Yes.
Evans?
Yes.
Martin?
Yes.
Ready?
Yep.
Burkhart?
Yes.
Motion passed. I will also note that as part of approving that motion, we did receive and file a number of reports. And I would just commend them to the council for their review. Moving on to the non-consent agenda, item 7A. Consider third consideration and to adopt and publish ordinance number 1156, amending the Code of Ordinances of the City of Johnston, Iowa, 2007 by amending section 106.12 for the purpose of adopting solid waste collection fees to become effective on July 1, 2026.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. This is the third reading of this ordinance. There's been no changes since the last meeting and no public comments have been received. Staff is recommending approval of the third reading, adopting, and publishing of the ordinance. Thank you.
Council, have any questions? If not, do we have a motion to approve third consideration and to adopt and publish ordinance number 1156?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion. Cindy, vote please.
Councilmember Evans?
Yes.
Martin?
Yes.
Ready?
Yep.
Burkhart?
Yes.
Coe?
Yes.
Motion passed. Item 7B, consider resolution number 26-15, approving the preliminary plat for 141 Business Park, Plat 1.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of council, Michael Delp, planning staff. This item was continued from the second council meeting in January. Just have additional conversations on the ownership side in terms of infrastructure. This request is coming from 141 Business Park LLC, Mark Bockenstead, to subdivide the initial 4 parcels for a multi-phase business park development. And this is their preliminary plat in that process. Here's the general location of the first phase of that project. It will actually extend all the way down here to Northwest Road Drive when all the phases are built out. I will provide the preliminary plat sketch drawings later on just to give council more context on this project. But here's the general location. It's just to the east of 141, south of Northwest Saylorville Drive, and west of Northwest 110th Court. Current zoning on site is E2. This allows for the proposed business park uses. There is some C3 to the north that's under different ownership, and there is government-owned facilities to the east here. The future land use designations on site are business/employment, and there are some parks and open space designation on here, but generally these are all in line with the proposed development on this site. Here is the general layout of the first phase, and apologies, it's a little bit glitchy here, but the applicant will have 3 parcels here for 3 buildings in their first initial phase, and they'll have an outlot building here. With any subdivision or site plan development, there is a requirement to develop infrastructure that's directly adjacent to the property. Northwest 110th Court is not currently up to spec to allow for the truck traffic that would go along with this development. There are discussions on the private side for doing a private development agreement to put in this infrastructure to about the midpoint here in this development. The applicant is having discussions with the property owner to the north, that C3 parcel, on coming together with an agreement to put in that infrastructure from the midpoint all the way north to Saylorville Drive, just in order to allow for all that traffic to go through and just improve the full road and not just the western half of the road with this development. We did have some comments from the public at the Plan and Zoning Commission meeting. They did have questions on how access will be maintained if these road improvements do go forward on Northwest 110th Court. They are on the south here on these 11-390, 11-200, 11-94, and 11-52 properties. As a part of that private development agreement, we would review those construction plans for the road improvements on the city staff side. And they would be required to maintain access there to the south for any public traffic through there. Plan and Zoning Commission did make a recommendation for approval, subject to typical conditions that we see with any preliminary plat. There were some additional conditions, payment of the new sanitary and water service connection fees within this area, review and acceptance of those private construction road improvement documents by council, also any private development agreements being reviewed by council and accepted by council. This is their first phase. They still have a long ways to go just after the preliminary plat is done. Just with those construction documents for the improvements to 110th Court and any other private development agreements that they have to come up with on the private side. Are there any questions from council?
Council, have any questions?
So, Michael, I'm trying to make sure I understand. So the area that you have kind of hatched out in orange there, that basically consists of the lots where they would build building A, building B, building E, as well as a stormwater retention pond?
Correct. It would be building A, B, and E, and then there would be the outlot for A, which would be stormwater detention.
Okay, great. Thank you. The things that's a little bit confusing is that on the hatched out, the line is very squared off, and then here it's more of an angle. But once I kind of figured that was the outlot, then that helped figure it out. So, okay.
Other questions for Michael?
I guess I have a question. It's kind of hard for me to really get a sense of the quality of this development. I know there has been discussions about the building facades, et cetera. But this is a bare bones representation of where the buildings are and where the parking lot is. And I know that I don't know if this is probably just more of a statement. I'm hoping that, Michael, you're looking out for Johnston. This is going to be very visible, and we all here are interested in making sure that it's a quality development. And by quality of development, I'm talking about has landscape along with the bike trail that they've proposed and all the other upgraded furnishings. So that is something I'm going to continue to be looking for.
Yep,
Thanks.
and we will address the architectural requirements, landscaping within the site plans for the buildings. So, yep, excited for the questions and continue this dialogue with you to get the best possible product.
Other questions for Michael?
The applicants are here too, if you have any questions for
For
them.
them? Any questions for the applicants? You're being too easy on them.
Welcome to town. I don't think we should be welcoming.
Okay, well, Michael, I think that takes care of it. If there aren't any further questions, do we have a motion to approve resolution number 26-15?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Cindy, vote please.
Councilmember Martin,
Yes.
Ready,
Yeah.
Burkhart,
Yes.
Coe,
Yes.
Evans.
Yes.
Motion passed. Item 7C, consider approval of claims in the amount of $1,562,410.30.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion? Cindy, vote please.
Councilmember Ready,
Yes.
Burkhart,
Yes.
Coe,
Yes.
Evans,
Yes.
Martin.
Yes.
Motion passed. Moving on to city administrator staff comments. We have a scheduled item under that, and that is discussion of the FY 2027 budget.
Downloading here, bear with me. There are 3 handouts. I figured you guys would appreciate a hard copy of the local option sales tax and hotel motel tax reconciliations. And then I have one slide out of this PowerPoint I'll present today, just to review with you. Again, those are small numbers, so I figured you'd appreciate that. Not a lot this evening, but just some follow-up from our last discussion. There's really 2 items that the council asked for additional information on. One was the police office, adding a police officer in each of the 5 years of the staffing plan, and then just updated hotel motel and an updated lost reconciliation. So adding a police officer in each of the 5 years of the staffing plan. So first I'm going to just kind of talk about 2027, because I think that's the main focus right now that we have to be concerned about and what the impacts are for FY 2027. We did present a budget that had $24.9 million in staffing for FY 2027. Adding one additional patrol officer in FY 2027 is about $114,000, or less than 0.5%. So really, it's not a material to the overall staffing plan. How we'd propose to fund it would to take $101,000 of additional loan, take that up to $201,000. We did have a small amount above the 25% reserve. So that will take us right to council stated policy of having a 25% reserve at the end of the budgeted fiscal year. And again, I just really want to make it clear, this does not cause any concern from a staff perspective in FY 2027, or frankly, as we look forward and project forward. And I'm going to kind of walk through why that is, and then kind of talk about the staffing plan as a whole. There's always a lot of X factors we consider, and I think we can sit here and kind of figure all those out. We have property tax legislation. Certainly, I don't know what's going to happen into the property tax legislation. There is property value growth, and I think this is a really important table to show, even as we project these different staffing plans out. There's a lot of assumptions that go in. We work with PFM to provide us data to set the values. But as you look, this column here represent what was in our staffing plan from PFM for last year. So they were showing a $1.6 million value for FY 2027, and then actually a slight decline of 1.7 billion for FY 2027. As we moved into what we're projecting now with actual numbers and with PFM, we're at 1.7 billion, a difference of 17 million. PFM is always conservative.
But you say 17 million.
Say that again. 12 million.
Okay,
Sorry,
I thought I heard you say
17
17 million. Okay.
And then FY 2027, they were projecting 1.7 billion. Our actual number is 1.92 billion. Now that's a combination of a couple things. First of all, we had revaluations that drove that, and then we made that decision to transfer and release some of the TIF, and so that comes into the general fund for taxation. So that's a difference of $216 million. That gives us a lot of flexibility for this FY 2027. It's also what allowed us to transfer and not transfer as much of local option sales tax into the budget for FY 2027. So those are real positive things as we look forward. But in the long story short is you can see, we are at 1.9 in FY 2027. That's almost as much as last year through FY 2030 PFM was projected. So that's one of those X factors, right? We're not going to know year to year what the valuations go, but it's one of those things we really watch.
But I just want to make sure, but we do know what the valuations for 26 and 27 are. Those are set?
Those are set now.
And then, so 28, 29, 30, and 31 are estimates?
Those are projections from PFM. Yep. Any other questions on those? We know rollback changes. Those are some X factors that we can't control. We could have a loss downturn. If we face a recession, that's a very volatile funding source for us. And then union contracts, we're going to be settling those. In fact, police next month will have their wage reopener, so we'll begin those. And there's certainly other X factors. So I think there's always, you hear from staff and the elected officials of concern of what does next year look like? Are we concerned? And what I hope this next couple slides will show is even while there is concern and we can't control legislation, I think that's the biggest X factor right now. The city of Johnston is in a very good position to kind of weather those storms, even if there is the worst property tax legislation. We'll have a few years to kind of react to that. So we look at the 5-year staffing plan. This is what, and this is actually in a PDF online. So if you want to review it, you certainly can. But there's just a couple key notes here. And really it's this is the bottom line that I think you guys want to focus on. We are looking at, through the general fund, $17.6 million of staffing costs, or a levy equivalent of $9.17. Now, our general fund and our employee benefits are not $9.17, but we have other, like local option sales tax transfers. We do have some revenue in some of our departments. You think about the fire department, they have revenue that helps offset some of our costs. So that does drive that down. But if you were going to pay for the entire staffing out of taxation, that's what the taxes would be. And you can see, as originally budgeted, before we added any of the new 5 police officers in the out years, you can see how that was going to project to grow. And again, when you get out to FY 2030, we were looking at about $4 million increase in our overall staffing. That's new staff costs. That's also ongoing staff, keeping the staff we have, and projected wage increases, or an increase of about 29 cents in the levy. We'd always talked last year in particular, and earlier in this fiscal year, our budget, when we were working to prepare the budget, we had talked about that we would need to probably raise the levy rate 10 cents per year. Certainly with the TIF change we made this year, we were able to keep the levy flat for FY 2027. And certainly we're in a good position to keep that flat, because there'll be other revenues that will come into play. And additionally, you may choose to bring more lost into the general fund, which would also play within that 29 cents we would need way out in fiscal year 2031. Now, as you look at adding 1 additional patrol officers each year for the 5-year staffing plan, you can see is in this middle chart. And again, it's about a $550,000 increase once you get out to fiscal year 2031. And that's an annual ongoing year after year increase in staffing just for those 5 positions, or an increase of 52 cents in the general or any equivalent levy rate. And again, you're going to make decisions, I would guess, to use local option sales tax to cushion that. We're going to see increases in overall revenues that will help impact that. We're really just kind of looking at the property tax component of it. So again, I think from my perspective, as you look out 5 years, and PFM also being conservative in their overall levy rates and property values, That, I believe, will also go down, and that impact will be less than what we expect once we get out to year 5. And this last chart is, and I think becomes especially impactful. What if the worst case scenario happens and the legislature puts a hard 2% cap on the general fund, the employee benefit, tort liability, and really starts handcuffing us, and we have to make really hard decisions? When we look at and project saying, okay, we're not going to have any new staff in fiscal year 28, 29, 30, and 31, our overall levy rate would actually impact would go down 14 cents, and overall the cost would go about $2.9 million. And again, you're going to see property value increases, so that's why, yes, those dollars are going up that we're actually going to spend in cost to retain staff, but our property values are also going up, and so that really does iron things out in the end. So I think in the end of the day, I think the message is when you look at this, yes, there is going to be some tough decisions, especially if we look at 28, 29, 30, and 31 on having that additional police officer in there. I think there is a path forward. And additionally, I think that as we look at this, even if the worst case scenario occurs, we're not going to be looking at next year having to do massive layoffs because we're in a position. And some of this I want to really point out, again, if you look at the local option sales tax reconciliation, I really want you to focus on the upper corner and where I've actually circled in red. This is those transfers that we're proposing. So again, last year we had $2.3 million in transfers from local option sales tax to the general fund. This year we're proposing $201,000. And so we're putting those in reserves. And then we had shown in all the reconciliations during the budget season, returning that as a future option that still funds the East of Merle Hay project, using those reserve dollars we have and what we're going to be building up over the next couple of years to position for us. But again, there is flexibility even in local option sales tax to help us sustain that course over the short term, especially if there is a change in property taxes. So I always like this graphic. I've shown this to you guys before. Everyone thinks the sky is falling. I just want to hit the sky is not falling. I think there's some definite storm clouds, but I don't think it's an area that we have to be concerned about as a city because of our prudent financial planning that we've done in the past. So I'm going to pause there if there's any questions on the thought. Again, I guess bottom line, I would reiterate, I would recommend at this point that we include an additional patrol officer in FY 2027 budget. So we've costed, we put it in there. It would be funded through a local option sales tax transfer, additional local option sales tax transfer. And I would pause to see a reaction there.
So,
Is there a question?
yeah, so just a question about the lost spreadsheet you just had up there. So does this, you indicated that it reflected funding some of the out years out of lost for the East of Merle Hay infrastructure. Where does that show up in the lost spreadsheet?
So if you're looking at the spreadsheet, it shows up right there. We did send these numbers to PFM. They came back and said, yes, that would keep our levy rate. Actually, these numbers, they came back and said it actually go lower than what I had calculated it out. So we're comfortable that, yes, this will achieve keeping the debt service levy rate at least flat as we go forward.
And then sort of the trade-off is that you have your ending balance in lost goes from 7.2 million in 28-29 down to 1.5 million.
Correct.
And so so that is, and that kind of moves away a little bit from this idea of keeping 100% of the lost revenue in reserve.
It would do that. That
So
would
that
have
is
to be a
kind of the
policy
trade-off of
decision
that. Okay.
the council would ultimately have to make.
Obviously not a decision that we have to make tonight, but at some point, if we go down this path of, and I mean, I like the idea of funding what appears to be 3 years out of east of Merle Hay, because we're paying cash instead of bonding, right?
No, we would actually bond and make debt payments out of lost is what we're proposing here.
Oh, okay.
The dollar amount to keep the debt service low enough to achieve what you're suggesting, we would need to put substantially more in to bring that down.
Okay. I guess I'd have to, it'd be interesting just to kind of see how those numbers flow, because I thought that this was, the 1.8 million was the cost that year. So I'm not sure, is that 1.8 million?
That is the amount of principal and interest payments we'd have to make to keep the debt service levy at a flat rate.
Oh, okay. So in essence, you're just moving some amount of that principal and interest for 3 years out of the debt service levy into that. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
And again, if you remember that original information from PFM, that is our high years.
Right.
Now that's also only programming our 5-year CIP.
Sure.
When you start looking out years, you're going to put upward pressure on those payments again.
And so obviously you're going, because one of the things you did highlight was a potential concern about, does lost fluctuate if we have a recession? Where, it's been pretty consistently in the $4.3 to $4.7 million range since it's been fully implemented in Johnston and since 21, but that's been a pretty stable economic time.
Yeah, I mean, FY 2022 was 4.9. Now, I believe, if I recall right, that was an anomaly year where they weren't correctly allocating us funds. Then it went, 4.4, 4.3, 4.7. So it does fluctuate. The Revenue Estimating Conference Committee is actually estimating that local option or sales tax, not local option sales, but sales tax in general, will see a slight decrease in fiscal year 7. So those are the things that it's hard to estimate what will actually happen at the end of the day.
Right. Okay.
And again, that's why we take a very conservative route in trying to estimate that, because we don't want to overestimate a revenue at the end of the day we don't receive.
Okay. That's all my questions.
Any other questions before Mike moves on?
So moving on, all I have is the lost reconciliation, what you requested. So again, we kind of went over this, but the other thing I was going to point out is we do have the East Merle Hay road projects in there, and we've estimated out through fiscal year 2032 the total received revenues and expenses for local option sales tax. And then there was a request for the hotel motel, which I also distributed it and is here. So certainly with that, hotel motel, I would say, I think I noted this last council meeting 2 weeks ago. We have seen reductions with both Bravo and Catch Des Moines with the change in how we do the funding for those two organizations. Additionally, we are not funding the JEDCO anymore, so that's a $30,000 budget. The chamber request went from 15 to 10,000 for the next fiscal year, so that's a change. So there is some dollars to spend towards purposes. We certainly can add. I know there was one suggestion, which I'm looking for some direction from the council, that we, at least at the minimum, budget our CAM fees that we feel that we will have over the long term through hotel motel. We know today the CAM fees for the town center are high because it's not fully built out. As that builds out, that will be reduced. Certainly, we could look at taking that out of hotel motel as a kind of attraction and tourism. Hotel motel, just as a reminder, 50% needs to go towards tourism and tourism attraction, which is met with Catch Des Moines and the visitors, Catch Des Moines and Bravo. And so we meet that with that contribution. The other 50% can be used for any legal public purpose.
One question I would have on this, so this 318 Park and Trail Improvement Fund, $81,000 transfer, is that the sole funding source for that, the Park and Trail Improvement Fund?
Sarah saying no, but I'll let her.
No, that is just one of our capital project funds for parks and trails. And when there are some projects that can be cash funded, it comes out of that.
So it just, because keeping that number sort of flat year after year, it'd be helpful to kind of see, making sure that there's enough funding in that fund, or should we at some point consider as we look at, should we put the CAM fund out of there, or should we fund, I see that one year we funded some trees out of this fund. So, and we talked about trees at the last meeting. So would this be an appropriate place to look at spending funding for trees as well? I just think if we're looking at options, we should kind of look at it holistically. And so those are some things that, as I look at this sheet, I'd kind of would wonder about. So, and then I noticed too, the budget, so hotel motel taxes. So 2024, 2025 actual was 460,000, but 2025, 26 we're budgeting about $112,000 lower. What is driving that?
The volatile nature of hotel motel.
But is there a reason that we're expecting it to be lower?
There isn't. We're just being conservative in that regard.
Okay, but then we bounce right back up to 450,000. So that doesn't really.
I can speak to that. Last year, when we had done the budget, it was based off kind of previous year and it was really probably low last year, which is why I bumped it up to 450 for fiscal 27, seeing where they had been coming in. So I would expect even this year when we do a budget amendment for that number to increase in our current year's budget.
Because that's the current year budget that we're in right now.
Correct.
25, 26, okay.
Yeah, it most likely will be amended.
Which then will result in a larger beginning balance for 26, 27.
Correct.
So it looks like we're running a balance of around 200,000 and our income's 450,000. So it's about a 45% reserve almost. Is that fair to say that?
Yes.
The percentages are on the bottom, but yes, that's.
Okay. But then obviously then in the out years, it gets to be 83, 81%. So those are probably higher than they need to be, so. And then also, how many years is our funding for the airport, the 45,000?
It was a 10-year commitment.
10 years? Okay, thanks.
Mike or Sarah via Mike. Mayor, do you mind if I ask a question in here? As I look at the reports that we just received and filed on that hotel motel tax at the treasurer's report, am I reading that correctly that we've already this year brought in $312,000 in hotel motel tax? And is that full amount, if that is the case, is that all able to be attributed to our budgeted 348,000 that we have for this fiscal year? Yep, I appreciate that.
So yes, that, of the 312,000 that's on that report of revenues, 307,000 is our year-to-date hotel motel actual tax collections. That difference would be interest that we've received into the fund as well.
Okay, thank you. And how do, what's the timing of payment for hotel motel? In other words, is part of that 312 last fiscal year
Yes.
by 3 months?
No,
By-
they've changed that. We get a payment at the end. Hotel motel usually comes in around the 26th, 27th of the month for the previous month. And then, so in August, in July and August, the July payment would be fully for June. That what we received in July would be fully for June. What we receive in August would be a split based on what the state had received due to late June payments that came in the July month, we would then receive in August.
Okay,
Yes.
And I don't know if you know this off the top of your head, but there is a definite cycle on hotel motel.
Yes.
So like we're in the lower part of that cycle.
Throughout the calendar year or throughout the
Yes,
fiscal year,
yes.
whatever.
You know, you have summer travel, sports. I don't know
Yes.
if you know that.
Oh,
cycle.
absolutely.
So it's not as simple as 1/12 every
that's,
single month.
thank you for clarifying that. That's good to know. All right.
Council, any other questions for Mike?
Mike, if we were to fund a portion of that CAM out of it, do you have a recommendation as to either what you'd feel comfortable doing? I read this as we're planning or budgeting at the moment that we would be, what is that? All of a sudden, I can't see that amount. Adding $51,000. Am I seeing that right? No, $76,000 to the overall ending balance next year if we kept this as is. I know our CAM is larger than $76,000, but is there some way that we can start funneling a portion of that CAM into this?
Yeah, and I would need to have a conversation with Josh about how we would divide out and kind of project out what we think our long-term CAM fee was going to be for that. So I'd want to have that conversation. If the reality, if we took CAM out of here and not the general fund, I would then suggest we lower the loss transfer and basically take it out of hotel motel. So we can make that change in the budget if that's a direction the council would like us to go. But that's what I would suggest to the council we do. Would not change our property tax rates for that change.
Thank you. I would encourage you to visit with Josh and see if there is some amount that you would recommend. And if you come back and say, no, we really need to keep this as is, I'd entertain that too. But I would like us to get toward that if we could.
And I think it's a good place for it. So, and like Councilmember Cope, if there's support, we'll look at trails. We certainly could also take, we have 25,000 that's new in this budget year for trees. So we could certainly take it out of hotel motel if that's a desire. And again, that would be less loss transfer than we're proposing at this point.
And it doesn't, I mean, I'm not sure it really matters. I mean, in some ways, I think, it sort of becomes down to your philosophy of what should you fund out of the hotel motel tax. I guess the big picture from my standpoint, I kind of go back to your comment up there originally about the $200 million of valuation that we were not anticipating that we have, right? So we have a $200 million increase in valuation. We have kind of large ending balances in the hotel motel. We're not having to take as much money out of lost. I still just struggle that we're kind of doing a lot of things except providing some relief to the taxpayer by keeping the rate the same. And I'm struggling with that.
Yeah.
Because I think honestly, given the higher valuations, we should be looking for ways to do that.
Well, and remember, it's not all of that's driven by additional property, actual taxable valuation coming on the books. So most of that is actually a transfer, less diversion from TIF. So the property tax bill, when we have that diversion from TIF to the general fund, doesn't change for those property taxpayers. They don't see any change in their property tax. So do keep that in mind. One of the things we talked about, last meeting 2 weeks ago is, yes, we could make a 1-year change to our property tax rate, but stability has been one of the things the council's talked a lot about. They want a stable property tax rate. If we make this change for next year, quite likely we're going to be back next fiscal year saying we're going to have to increase the levy rate back to that point, if not more. And so those are the challenges we just need direction from. But it really is going to be a one-time change. I know you and I have had that conversation at length this week of do we make a small change to the levy rate? I mean, those are decisions. Certainly, I encourage you elected officials to make, but the reality is it is going to be a temporary change. Likely next year we're going to be right back to where we were at today.
And what is driving that?
Well, it's increases in our staffing costs. It's not going to be a revaluation year, so that always causes issues.
But typically then the rollback also goes up those years too. So
it does, but it doesn't offset the change generally.
And I guess the other question I have just a little bit generally is that we talked, the 5-year staffing plan document that you have, we've kind of have gone from, on the police officer staffing, from not a significant increase to talking about adding an officer this year. And now we have a document that talks about adding a new officer each year over the next 5 years. And I don't really know where that came from, because I don't really remember us talking about that specific. So I feel like we have like 3 options here on the 5-year staffing plan, but I'm not really sure what the genesis of each of the 3 options.
Well, the third option was just really to show if the worst in property tax occurs, there is ways that we can deal with it. So it's not really a proposed staffing plan, because all it says is we're not going to add any new staffing in 28 and beyond. We're going to keep status quo staffing. Related to adding basically 1 new officer each year in the 5-year staffing plan, that was a discussion item we had 2 weeks ago when Chief McDaniel came up and talked about, the first staffing plan, we had 2 officers essentially in each year. And when we went into the second year of the staffing plan, we went to 1 officer each year. And reality is, as we're growing, just to maintain a constant level of service, we're at a point now in the staffing plan, we can go to the better shifts, which is an important thing. But now we're having issues where we need to go to having more officers on the street, because we've been a pretty consistent 3 officer rotation 24/7. We need to now go to that 4 officer rotation because we're a growing community. Beyond that, when we look at the Northwest annexation, we're going to need officers there. We're never going to get there if we're just adding 1 officer a year every year. So the discussion and the direction at least I thought I had was we want to look at getting back to the 2 officers every year in the staffing plan. So that was the genesis of.
Okay. I just want to make sure, obviously, as we look at adjusting the staffing plan, we look at it holistically and not just sort of one department at a time, so.
Yep. So unless there's objections, the next meeting, you'll be setting your public hearings. I would suggest we set the public hearing at a flat levy. Certainly, as we go through the public hearing, if there's a decision to make a change, the council certainly has that option. But that at least, if we lower it now, you're locked into that lower rate. So we're not going to be setting ourselves up that we can't make changes later. So we will prepare all the notices based on a flat levy rate. We'll make a couple of the changes that we talked about here tonight of kind of rearranging some of the hotel, motel, and lost dollars. So we'll get that in alignment, and we'll start that public hearing process, if that sounds fair.
Any other questions or comments?
As always, I really appreciate the time staff puts in it, because they put a tremendous effort into it. So I really appreciate their times. And I appreciate each and every one of you for the hard questions you've asked, because this is the most important public document that you guys do all year. So I appreciate that. Okay, thank you. And certainly if there's more questions, feel free to reach out to any of us.
Mike, do you have anything else under staff comments?
I do not.
Does other staff have anything under staff comments? Matt, do you have something? He can't help himself.
Just give a quick update. Our streetscape plan, we did have a committee meeting a couple weeks ago. The engineer has taken those comments. I have a meeting with him on Friday, and then we'll bring back to a work session, probably the second meeting in March, first meeting in April. But just wanted to give a quick update to the council.
Who on the council is part of that process, the committee process?
And me.
Okay.
And Jim. And we have had a presentation of it prior to this, correct? Yeah.
Yes, we had a presentation at a work session. That was the last meeting in November. I think it was first meeting in December. Then we had some questions. We went back, had a committee meeting to look at some of those, and then we'll be bringing it back to another work session.
Any other staff comments? City council comments. Councilman Evans. Councilman Reddy.
Thanks.
Cool.
Had a couple of really nice positive comments on the new push button blinking light, passenger crossing or pedestrian crossing on Johnston Drive there. Kay Henderson, who works at the Capitol Radio Iowa, but also hosts Iowa Press. So she comes to Johnston. They have that show on Friday mornings on public television. So she stopped me at the Capitol the other day and said that she lives in Beaverdale, so she comes off on Johnston, and that she's been driving along there and seen some bikers and thought that was really valuable and a really good change. And then I also got a nice email from a cross-country coach teacher at Johnson High School. That path is a popular one for the cross-country team. So he was really appreciative of us adding that in. So I do think that's a good pedestrian safety feature. And I know we've added some of those also around town as well. So just want to pass along some positive comments that I've heard on that recently.
Councilman Burkhart.
My only comment, and it may be very short-lived because I know our weather is going to change again, but be mindful of a lot of pedestrians out there these days. There's kids riding and biking and running and everything else dashing in between cars. So do what you can to keep them all safe. We love them, so let's keep them that way.
Councilwoman Martin.
Public service announcements for those of you who have planted evergreens last fall. Go out and water them. It's very dry out. If you want your new evergreen plantings to live, you better go water them.
And I don't think I have anything to add this evening, so is there anything else for the good of the order? If not, we are adjourned.